The fireworks painted the sky in colors that had no names on Earth. New Haven's 50th anniversary celebration brought every soul out into the streets, their faces turned upward in wonder. Children laughed and pointed at the cascading lights while their parents held them close. Taman Park watched from the orbital defense station, a small smile on his face as he monitored the display. His sister Yuna had designed the fireworks sequence herself, combining human artistry with alien chemistry to create something truly unique. Beautiful work, little sister Taman said into his communication device. Just wait for the finale, Yuna responded from the spaceport below. Her voice carried the excitement of an engineer proud of her creation. I've saved the best for last. Temin leaned back in his command chair, surrounded by screens showing different views of the colony. 4,300,000 people called New Haven home. Farmers in the Northern Territories, miners in the Southern Mountains, teachers and doctors and artists in the coastal cities. 50 years ago, this world had been empty. Now it thrived with human life and dreams. The sensor alarm changed everything. Temin sat up straight. Red warnings filled his screens. His crew moved with practiced efficiency, their casual mood vanishing in an instant. Multiple contacts emerging from jump space, his tactical officer reported. Configuration unknown. They're big, sir. Really big. Hail them, Taman ordered. Get me Governor Deho on the line? The ships were massive, each one larger than anything humanity had built. They arranged themselves in attack formation with the precision of a military fleet. Taman's heart began to pound as he counted 15 capital ships and twice that number of smaller vessels. New Haven's defenses consisted of his station to patrol boats and a planetary shield that could maybe withstand an hour of bombardment. Governor Deho Kim's face appeared on the main screen. The older man looked confused rather than alarmed. Captain Park, what's happening up there? We have unknown vessels in system, sir. Large fleet. Military configuration. Have they responded to your hails? Not yet, Governor. I recommend we raise the planetary shields and begin evacuation protocols. Deho nodded slowly. Do it, but keep trying to establish communication. This has to be some kind of misunderstanding. The response came 30 seconds later. A face appeared on every screen in the system, broadcasting on all frequencies. The alien was tall and angular, with skin that seemed to shimmer like oil on water. His eyes were cold, his expression one of absolute certainty. Human settlement designated New Haven, the alien said. You have violated the Treaty of Domains by colonizing this world. This system falls under ancient Valorian territorial claims. You have 1 hour to surrender all vessels and submit to arrest. Taman felt ice in his stomach. We were never informed of any territorial disputes. The Galactic Council approved our colonization rights. The Council's approval is irrelevant. Ancient law supersedes their authority. You have 59 minutes. Taman immediately opened channels to Earth, to the nearest human fleet, to anyone who could help. The responses came quickly but brought no comfort. The fleet was 3 days away at best. Earth was scrambling diplomatic channels. The Galactic Council was being contacted. Everyone told them the same thing. Hold on, stay calm, try to negotiate. Governor Deho tried. He broadcast messages pleading for dialogue, offering to relocate the colony, asking for time to verify the territorial claims. The Valorians ignored every transmission. Taman watched the countdown clock with growing dread. His defense station had weapons that could maybe damage 1 or 2 of those ships before they overwhelmed him. The patrol boats were already moving into position, their captains knowing they were about to die. Yuna called him with 10 minutes left. Brother, I'm evacuating civilians from the spaceport. We need more time. I'll try to buy you some, Taman promised, though he had no idea how the hour ended. Taman opened a channel to the Valorian flagship. Please, we're trying to comply. Just give us time to evacuate. Response was a weapons lock. His station shook as the first missile struck. Shields held for maybe 15 seconds before collapsing. Taman ordered his crew to abandon ship, but the escape pods were targeted as they launched. He died at his post, trying to activate the station's self-destruct, to to at least damage the enemy. It failed. The Valorians were too good at this. From the planet below, Yuna watched the station explode. She was at the spaceport, helping families board evacuation ships. 3 vessels had already launched, carrying maybe 1,000 people. 3,000 more waited in line. The Valorian ships began their bombardment of the surface before she could get the next. Transport loaded. The first impacts hit the northern cities. Entire populations vanished in nuclear fire. Yuna kept working, kept loading people, kept hoping that somehow this would end. A Valorian destroyer targeted the spaceport specifically. The last thing Yuna saw was a bright light and then nothing. The bombardment lasted 6 hours. The Valorians were thorough. They hit every city, every town, every farm and mine and research station. The planetary shields failed within the first hour. After that, it was just murder. 4,300,000 people died. No survivors. No prisoners. No mercy. When it ended, the Valorians broadcast a message to Earth. Lord Venthyr, their ambassador, appeared on screen with the same cold expression his commander had worn. This is the price of ignoring ancient law. Know your place, newcomers. On Earth, the Security Council watched the recordings from New Haven's satellites. They saw the bombardment. They heard the desperate pleas. They counted the dead. President Jiwan Han stood before the cameras with tears on her face and steel in her voice. They believe we will forget, she said. They believe 4,300,000 lives will fade from memory. They believe we will accept this as the natural order of the galaxy. They have never been more wrong about anything. The Galactic Council convened 3 days later. The elder species listened to humanity's plea for justice. They examined the evidence. They reviewed the ancient Treaty of Domains. Then they voted. The Valorian action was legal under ancient law. Humanity's colonization had violated old territorial claims. The matter was closed. Chairman Kursith offered humanity sympathy. The crystalline being seemed genuinely sad. We understand your grief, but the law is the law. Perhaps in time your species will come to accept the ancient order. The human delegation left without saying another word. Back on Earth, President Jiwan called an emergency meeting. Admiral Hyunwoo Choi was given unlimited resources and one mission. Make sure this could never happen again. Dr. Min Seo. Lee was pulled from civilian research to head Project Reckoning. Humanity went silent. The galaxy noticed, but assumed the newcomers had learned their lesson. 3 years passed and humanity became quiet. The elder species of the galaxy noticed the change and felt satisfied. The humans had learned their place. They attended council meetings but rarely spoke. Their merchant ships traveled the approved trade routes without complaint. Their colonies grew slowly on approved worlds. Everything seemed normal on the surface. Lord Venthyr stood before the Galactic Council and spoke with confidence. The humans have finally understood the wisdom of ancient law. They were a young species, impulsive and emotional. The New Haven incident, though tragic, taught them necessary lessons about respecting established order. The elder species nodded in agreement. The T'Chari Collective's representative, a being of living crystal, chimed softly. Their behavior has been acceptable. Perhaps in another century or two, they will be ready for more responsibility in galactic affairs. What the galaxy did not see was happening on Mars, deep beneath the red surface. In facilities that stretched for kilometers, Admiral Hyunwoo Choi walked through humanity's largest military complex. Every day brought new progress. Every week brought breakthroughs that would have taken decades under normal circumstances. Show me the latest tests, Hyunwoo said to Chief Scientist Min Seo Lee. Min Seo pulled up holographic displays showing weapons tests. The antimatter torpedoes exceeded expectations. We can now deliver twice the destructive power in half the space. The new targeting systems have a 98% accuracy rate at ranges the Valorians consider impossible, and the stealth systems. We've cracked it, Admiral. Our ships can now phase slightly out of normal space. Not enough for faster-than-light travel, but enough to become invisible to conventional sensors. Field tests show we can get within weapons range before they even know we're there. Yunwu allowed himself a small smile. How many ships are ready? 247 capital ships, over 500 destroyers, and countless smaller vessels. The automated shipyards in the asteroid belt are producing more every day. The ships were beautiful in a deadly way. Sleek hulls painted black as space itself. Weapons that could tear through shields like paper. Engines that made them faster than anything the galaxy had seen. Each ship bore a name from New Haven. Every captain and crew member had lost someone in the massacre. They trained with a dedication that bordered on obsession. Dr. Soman Kong documented everything for the historical record. She was a historian, not a soldier, but the military had asked her to be there. Someone needed to remember why humanity was doing this. Someone needed to ensure the lesson was never forgotten. The elder species don't understand us, Soman said during one of her recordings. They evolved on stable worlds with predictable seasons. Their wars were about resources and territory, settled by negotiation and compromise. Humanity evolved differently. We faced ice ages and volcanoes and predators that wanted to eat us. We learned to remember threats. We learned to eliminate dangers before they could strike again. The galaxy thinks we've forgotten New Haven. They're wrong. We remember every name, every face, every life that was taken. In the asteroid belt, automated factories worked without rest. Human engineers had taken every piece of alien technology they could find and made it better. Valorian shield designs were analyzed and countered. Tashari weapons were reverse-engineered and improved. The galaxy's technology was centuries old, refined through slow iteration. Humanity's technology was brand new, designed with one purpose: overwhelming superiority. Captain Junho Nam stood on the bridge of his new flagship. The ship was so large, it had to be built in sections and assembled in space. Its name was painted in letters that reflected no light, the price of forgetting. He ran his hand along the captain's chair and thought of his family. His wife and 2 children had been visiting New Haven when the Valorians came. They died in the first bombardment wave. When do we launch, Admiral? Junho asked during a command meeting. When we're ready, Hyunwoo replied. Not before. This cannot fail. We get one chance to do this right. And if the Valorians attack another human world before then we launch early and hope it's enough. But they won't. They believe we're beaten. They think we've accepted our place. The Valorian Dominion continued expanding. They annexed territories from 2 minor species who lacked the strength to resist. The Galactic Council issued formal protests that meant nothing. Lord Venther attended these meetings and barely concealed his amusement. The ancient law protected the strong. The weak had no recourse. At one council session, a T-Sherry representative approached the human delegation. Your people have been very quiet lately. Is everything well? The human ambassador, a man named Taeyong Lee, smiled politely. We're learning, observing, understanding how things work. It is wise. The galaxy has existed for millions of years. Humanity is very young. There is no shame in acknowledging this. No shame at all, Taeyong agreed. Back on Mars, the preparations continued. Training exercises ran day and night. Fleet formations were practiced until every ship could move in perfect coordination. Supply lines were established and tested. Medical facilities were expanded to handle casualties. Humanity was preparing for total war, and they were doing it with the efficiency of a species that had survived by being very good at killing threats. The trigger came 3 years and 4 months after New Haven, a human survey ship was exploring. Near the Veil Nebula, when a Valorian patrol intercepted it. The humans explained they were conducting scientific research in unclaimed space. The Valorian captain disagreed. He considered this his territory. The survey ship, carrying 40 scientists and crew, tried to leave peacefully. The Valorian captain, emboldened by his empire's past success with humanity, fired on them. The ship exploded. All hands were lost. The Valorian captain transmitted a message to the nearest human outpost. Need we teach you the lesson again? The message reached Mars within hours. Admiral Hunwoo read it 3 times. He looked at his staff. all of whom were watching him with expressions of barely controlled rage. 3 years of preparation. 3 years of building and planning and training. 3 years of carrying the weight of 4,300,000 dead. Execute, Hunu said. The word went out through encrypted channels. Fleet commanders received their orders. Ship captains opened sealed mission briefings. Across human space, from Earth to the outer colonies, warships began moving. The galaxy was about to learn that humanity had not forgotten. Humanity had been preparing. Min-Seo Lee ran final system checks on the new weapons. Everything showed green. She thought of her brother who died on New Haven trying to save children from a burning school. "This is for you," she whispered to the empty laboratory. Dr. Salmon Kong made her final pre-war entry in the historical record. Today, humanity stops being silent. The galaxy believed our silence meant acceptance. They were wrong. Our silence was preparation. Every species in known space is about to learn what happens when you wound humanity and assume we'll forget. The elder races evolved to compromise and coexist. Humanity evolved to survive and overcome. They killed our people and expected us to bow. Instead, we sharpened our teeth. The first fleets jumped to their staging points. The Valorian Dominion had 200 star systems, built over centuries of conquest and expansion. Humanity was about to teach them how quickly empires could fall. The attacks began simultaneously across 47 Valorian systems. Human warships emerged from jump space with weapons already charging. No warnings. No declarations. No mercy. The Valorian military had mere seconds to respond before the first salvos hit their targets on Valoria Prime. The throne world of the Dominion Emperor Theragon was meeting with his military council when the alarms began screaming. "What is happening?" he demanded. "Multiple contacts, Your Majesty. Unknown ships appearing throughout our territory. They're attacking our defense stations. Unknown? What species would dare?" The answer came when human warships dropped their stealth fields directly above Valoria Prime. 15 capital ships, each one bristling with weapons that the Valorians had never seen before. The orbital defense platforms, ancient structures that had protected the throne world for 1,000 years, opened fire immediately. Their weapons struck empty space. The human ships were already somewhere else, moving faster than Valorian sensors could track. Fleet. Commander Gunho Nam stood on the bridge of the price of forgetting and watched the battle displays with cold satisfaction. Target the western platform cluster. Antimatter torpedoes full spread. The weapons launched in silence. They crossed the distance to their targets in seconds. When they hit, the defense platforms simply ceased to exist. Matter and energy converted into pure destructive force. The explosions were visible from the planet's surface. Eastern platforms attempting to lock weapons, his tactical officer reported. Phase shift. Attack pattern 7. The ship flickered, existing in multiple dimensions at once. Valorian weapons fire passed through where they had been. Human return fire came from an angle the defenders couldn't have predicted. More platforms died. Emperor Theragon watched his orbital defenses crumble. "Send everything we have. Every ship in the system. Crush these attackers." The Valorian fleet responded with overwhelming numbers. 300 warships against 15 human vessels? The odds should have been impossible. Instead, the Valorian fleet died in the first 10 minutes of engagement. Human weapons cut through Valorian shields like they weren't there. Human ships moved in patterns that seemed to violate physics. Valorian captains fired at positions where the enemy had been, while human weapons struck from directions the Valorians didn't know existed. Major Hounshin led the first ground assault. Her dropship broke through the atmosphere with 40 Marines in powered armor. They landed near the primary military command center, a fortress that had never been breached in Valorian history. Hound checked her weapons and looked at her team. "Remember the mission. Military targets only. Any civilians we encounter are to be left unharmed. We're not here to become what they are." The Marines moved with precision. Their armor made them faster and stronger than any Valorian soldier. Their weapons used technology that seemed to erase matter rather than just destroying it. defensive barriers fell. Automated gun systems were disabled before they could fire. Within an hour, Haon's team stood in the command center while Valorian officers stared in shock. "This facility is now under human control," Haon announced. "All personnel will remain here. You will not be harmed if you cooperate." A Valorian general found his voice. "This is impossible. Your species is weak. We taught you your place." "You murdered 4 million people and expected us to forget," Haon replied. "That was your mistake." Across the Valorian Dominion, the same scene repeated. Human fleets appeared without warning. Valorian defenses, built over centuries, collapsed in hours. The Valorians had never faced an enemy like this. An enemy that had studied them, learned their weaknesses, and built weapons specifically designed to counter every strength they possessed. The Galactic Council convened an emergency session. Representatives from dozens of species watched the reports flooding in. The Valorian Dominion, one of the galaxy's major powers, was being systematically dismantled by the species they had dismissed as weak newcomers. "How is this possible?" the Tashari representative asked. 3 years ago, humanity had primitive defenses. Now they possess technology we cannot match. They weaponize desperation, another voice said. It was the representative from the Mindari, a telepathic species that rarely spoke. "We felt their emotions after New Haven. Grief so deep it had no bottom. Rage so cold it burned. They poured everything into becoming strong enough that it could never happen again." Chairman Kurseth's crystalline form flickered with distress. "We must stop this. The humans are violating every principle of proportional response. Are they?" The Tashari representative pulled up casualty reports. "Look at these numbers. Human forces are targeting military installations exclusively. They're allowing civilian evacuations. Their ground forces are following rules of engagement stricter than our own. This is not revenge. This is systematic dismantling of military capability." Broad El Hunwad broadcast a message on all galactic frequencies. His face appeared on screens across civilized space. He looked tired but determined. 3 years ago, the Valorian Dominion murdered 4,300,000 human beings. The Galactic Council declared this legal under ancient law. We asked for justice, and were told to accept our place. Today, humanity shows you what happens when you wound us and expect forgiveness. We do not forget. We do not forgive. Every species in this galaxy will learn this lesson. The broadcast showed footage from New Haven. Children running from flames. Families begging for mercy. Cities turning to slag under Valorian bombardment. Then it showed the current battles. Valorian military bases burning. Warships exploding. Defense systems failing. The contrast was deliberate and brutal. "We could have done to them what they did to us," Hunwu continued. "We could have bombarded their civilian centers. We could have killed their children and families. We chose not to. Not because they deserve mercy, but because we will not become them. But make no mistake, the Valorian Dominion as a military power is finished. Any species that follows their example will face the same fate." On Valoria Prime, Captain Yunji Bei led a special operations team through the Imperial Palace. They found Lord Venther trying to escape through service tunnels. The Valorian ambassador who had justified New Haven's destruction now cowered before human soldiers. "I was only following orders," Venther begged. "So were the people firing the weapons," Yonji said. "You're coming with us. Earth has prepared a trial. You'll face human justice." Within 2 weeks, 98 of the Dominion's 200 systems had fallen under human control. The remaining systems surrendered without fight. Emperor Theragon's government collapsed. The Valorian military, once feared throughout the galaxy, was reduced to scattered remnants hiding in deep space. The elder species watched in horror and growing respect. The Vorum Empire, massive beings that lived in gas giants, sent a delegation to meet with human representatives. Their message was simple: we will not interfere. The crystalline Tashari began negotiating trade agreements, recognizing reality. Even the Mindari, who had existed for millions of years, acknowledged that something fundamental had changed. Dr. Soman Kong walked through the ruins of a Valorian military academy. Human engineers were already working to convert it into a hospital. She recorded her observations. The galaxy is learning what humans have always known. Wound us, and we remember forever. Attack us, and we will ensure you can never do it again. The elder species built their power on ancient laws and slow change. Humanity builds its power on one simple principle: never again. Back on Earth, President Ji Wan-han addressed her people. New Haven has been avenged. The Valorians have learned their lesson, but our work is not finished. We must ensure no species ever feels safe attacking humanity. We must build a galaxy where might does not make right, where ancient laws do not justify murder. Today we showed we can fight. Tomorrow we show we can build something better. The Galactic Council chamber had never been so tense. 3 months after the war ended, representatives from every major species gathered to address what they were calling the human question. Chairman Curse's crystalline body dimmed with concern as he opened the session. We convened to discuss humanity's unprecedented military action against the Valorian Dominion. The scale of this conflict and its rapid conclusion have created instability throughout known space. President Juan Han sat at the main council table, not in the petitioner's gallery where humanity had once been placed. No one had invited her to sit there. She simply took the seat, and no one dared tell her to move. The shift in power was that obvious. The council accuses humanity of war crimes, Kurseth continued. You attacked without declaration. You destroyed military assets worth trillions. You occupied sovereign territory. What do you say to these charges? Ambassador Taeyong Li stood and activated a holographic display. We say that every action we took was legal under the rules of warfare. Our own rules, not yours. Every target was military. Every civilian population was given time to evacuate. Every wounded enemy soldier received medical care. We followed laws of war stricter than anything the Council has established. Cannot simply impose your own laws? A Vorum representative boomed. The gas giant dweller's translated voice echoed through the chamber. You imposed your laws on us, Taeyong replied calmly. You declared it legal to murder 4 million humans because of an ancient treaty we never signed? You watched our people die and offered sympathy. Now, you're upset that we responded according to our rules instead of yours. Cursed flickered. That was different. The Treaty of Domains has governed territorial disputes for millions of years. Then change it, Guanhan said, standing. Because humanity will not follow laws that legalize genocide. Any species that attacks us will face total military destruction. We're not asking permission. We're informing you of reality. Taeyong activated another display. This one showed footage from New Haven. 3 hours of civilians begging for mercy. Mothers holding children. Fathers trying to shield their families. All of it ending in nuclear fire while the galaxy watched and did nothing. When the recordings ended, the chamber sat in complete silence. We asked for justice, Giwan continued. You told us to accept ancient law. So, we made new law. The law that says humanity protects itself. The law that says we remember every wound. The law that says attack us once, and we ensure you can never attack us again. If that makes us criminals in your eyes, we accept the judgment. But we will not change. The Tashari representative chimed softly. The human position is understandable. We analyzed their response patterns. Humanity evolved through constant environmental threats. Their survival instinct is to eliminate danger permanently. Perhaps we should have considered this before applying our ancient laws to them. Are you defending them? The Vorum representative demanded. I am stating facts. The Valorians attacked humanity using legally justified means under our laws. Humanity responded using overwhelming force under their survival instinct. Both sides acted according to their nature. The result was inevitable once we failed to provide actual justice. The debate continued for hours. The elder species were divided. The Vorum Empire wanted humanity punished. They saw human actions as a threat to established order. The Tashari collective argued for pragmatic acceptance. They recognized that humanity was now too powerful to punish. The Mindari, speaking rarely, suggested that the galaxy needed to evolve. Dr. Somin Kong was allowed to address the council. She had requested the opportunity to explain human thinking. "You evolved on stable worlds," she began. "Your seasons came regularly. Your food supplies were predictable. Your threats were manageable through negotiation. Humanity evolved differently. We faced ice ages that came without warning, volcanoes that blacked out the sun, predators that saw us as food. We survived because we remembered dangers and eliminated them. That instinct is in our DNA. When you killed 4 million of us and expected us to forget, you misunderstood what we are." "So humanity cannot coexist with other species?" a council member asked. "We can coexist with anyone who doesn't try to kill us," Solomon replied. "But if you attack us, we will ensure you can never do it again. It's not revenge. It's survival. The Valorians are learning this. They attacked us once. Now they lack the ability to ever do it again. That's not cruelty. That's security." General Minjae Park, cousin to Taman and Yuna, who died at New Haven, presented humanity's demands. He was young for a general, but had proven himself during the war. "The Treaty of Domains is abolished. Any territorial dispute will be resolved through arbitration, not military action. Species may follow their own customs in their own space, but attacks on other species will be met with collective defense. These are not requests. These are the new rules. And if we refuse," the Vorum representative asked. "Then refuse," Minjae said simply. "But understand that humanity now protects 30 other species who have asked for our defense. Attack any of them and face us. The galaxy can accept this new order peacefully, or learn the lessons the Valorians learned. Your choice." The smaller species in the gallery erupted in whispered conversations. Over the past 3 months, dozens of minor civilizations had approached humanity for protection. The Kelthani, whose homeworld had been seized generations ago under ancient law, the Savarine, barely holding independence against larger neighbors, the Tomar, the Yeshni, the Koldrani. All of them saw humanity as potential protectors. "You're building an empire," Kurseth accused. "We're building an alliance," Juwon corrected. "Every species that joins does so voluntarily. They can leave whenever they want. We don't conquer. We don't enslave. We protect. There's a difference." The vote, when it came, was close. The Treaty of Domains was officially reformed. Territorial disputes would now require arbitration. Military action required council approval except in cases of self-defense. The new laws weren't everything humanity wanted, but they were progress. More importantly, every species now understood that humanity could enforce these rules if needed. On Valoria Prime, Coordinator Jisoo Yang oversaw reconstruction efforts. The Valorian people had expected slavery or genocide. Instead, humans were helping them build a democratic government. Food shipments arrived daily. Medical supplies were distributed freely. Human engineers worked alongside Valorian workers to repair infrastructure. A Valorian woman approached Jisoo one day. "Why are you helping us?" "We killed your people. Your government killed our people," Jisoo corrected. "You're not your government. We punished those responsible. Now we help you build something better." Admiral Hunwoo attended the war crimes trial of Lord Venther. The Valorian ambassador sat in a human court, facing judges from Earth. The evidence was overwhelming. Venther had justified and encouraged the New Haven massacre. He had celebrated the deaths. The verdict was guilty. The sentence was life imprisonment. Hunwoo felt no satisfaction. Justice didn't bring back the dead, but it established precedent. Back on Mars, Minsawa Lee reviewed her team's work. The weapons that had crushed the Valorians were now being studied by researchers from allied species. Humanity was sharing defensive technology freely. "We got strong to survive," she told her team. "Now we help others get strong so they can survive too." That's how you build peace. The galaxy was changing. The elder species, used to millions of years of slow evolution, found themselves adapting to a new reality. Power had shifted. Humanity wasn't the strongest species, but they were strong enough. More importantly, they had allies who trusted them to fight when needed and show mercy when possible. President Ji Wan Han's final address to the council was brief. 3 years ago, you told us to accept our place. We rejected that. Today, we offer a new arrangement. Work with us to build a galaxy based on justice rather than ancient law. Or continue as you were and face the consequences when your ancient laws create another New Haven. The choice is yours. 10 years after New Haven burned, the Memorial World of Remembrance stood as a testament to human memory. The planet's surface held monuments carved from black stone that would last millions of years. Every name of the 4,300,000 dead was inscribed there. Families came from across human space to touch those names and remember. Fleet. Admiral Una Park walked through the memorial gardens. She was not the Una who died saving civilians at the spaceport. She was born 3 months after the massacre, named in honor of the fallen hero. Her parents had survived because they were off-world during the attack. They gave their daughter a name that carried weight and responsibility. Now, at 26, she commanded the defense fleet that protected Remembrance. Status report, Una requested from her command center. All systems green, Admiral. 15 capital ships on station. Defense platforms at full readiness. Nothing enters this system without our permission. Una looked at the tactical display. Remembrance was the most heavily defended location in human space, except for Earth itself. Not because it held strategic value, but because humanity would never let the Memorial World be threatened. Every species in the galaxy knew this. Remembrance was sacred ground. On Earth, the Seoul Military Academy trained the next generation of defenders. Instructor Sia Jano stood before 200 cadets and taught the lesson that every human military member learned. New Haven, he said simply, and the room fell silent. Say the name. Remember it. 4,300,000 people died because we were weak. Not militarily weak. We were weak in understanding. We believed the galaxy followed rules. We believed justice existed without power to enforce it. New Haven taught us differently. Cadet raised her hand. Sir, are we supposed to hate the Valorians? No, Seojin replied. Hate is exhausting and useless. We're supposed to remember. The Valorian government that ordered the attack is gone. Most of the people who carried it out are dead or imprisoned. The Valorian people today are our partners, but we remember what happened when we were unprepared. That memory keeps us ready. That readiness keeps the peace. The Valorian Republic had thrived under its new government. Democracy was messy and slow compared to imperial rule, but the people preferred it. President Carvin had been a military officer during the war. She refused orders to bombard human civilian targets and was imprisoned for it. After the war, when the Valorians needed new leadership, they chose her. Carvin visited Earth to meet with President Ji Wan Han, now elderly but still sharp. They met in a garden, 2 leaders, carrying the weight of history. My people will carry the shame of New Haven for generations, Carvin said. We teach it in our schools. We remember the names of your dead. It's the least we can do. Chuan studied the younger woman. Then we share a burden. We remember the wound. You remember the lesson? Both memories keep the future safer. Your children don't bear guilt for their grandparents' crimes, but they must learn from those crimes. That's how civilizations grow. The Galactic Council had evolved significantly. Humanity now held permanent seats on all major committees. The Treaty of Domains had been replaced by new laws emphasizing arbitration and collective security. Smaller species no longer feared the ancient powers. The elder species had learned to share power or risk becoming irrelevant. The Taisheri Collective published a widely discussed paper titled The Human Paradox. Its author, Crystal Mind 7th, had studied humanity for years. Humans are simultaneously the most forgiving and most vengeful species in known space, she wrote. They show mercy to defeated enemies, but absolute ruthlessness toward continuing threats. Wound them, and they remember forever. Help them, and they remember that too. This duality makes them dangerous to enemies and invaluable to allies. Understanding this is key to galactic peace. Trade between species flourished. Human technology, once generations behind the elder races, now led in many fields. The desperation that drove innovation during the war years had created permanent advantages. Humanity shared defensive technology freely with allies, but kept the most advanced weapon systems classified. Trust was good. Verified capability was better. Dr. Soman Kong, now one of the galaxy's most respected historians, completed her comprehensive work on the post-New Haven era. Her final chapter addressed humanity's place in the galaxy. We entered the stars believing in cooperation and law. New Haven shattered that innocence. We learned that the galaxy respects only strength. But we refused to become the monsters who wronged us. We built strength and used it to create justice. The elder species built empires. Humanity built something different. An alliance based on mutual defense and shared values. It's not perfect, but it's better than what came before. On the galactic rim, sensor stations detected something unprecedented. A fleet approaching from beyond known space. Millions of ships. Technology that registered on sensors but made no sense. An invasion force heading directly toward Council space. The automated system sent alerts to every major military command center. The elder species panicked. The Vorum Empire, despite its massive size, had never faced a threat from outside known space. The Tashari collective ran calculations and found them disturbing. The Mindari, telepathic and ancient, could sense nothing from the approaching fleet. Whatever was coming, it was alien in ways the galaxy had never encountered. Admiral Hune, now old and decorated with honors from a dozen species, addressed the emergency council session. His hair was gray and his face lined, but his voice still carried authority. 10 years ago, you learned that humanity never forgets a wound. Today, you'll learn we also never forget an ally. Every species that stood with us, every world that took us in when we were weak, every voice that called for justice after New Haven, we remember. This threat comes for all of us, and we face it together. The fleet began assembling above Earth, Mars, Remembrance, and 100 other human worlds. But not just human ships. Vessels from 30 allied species joined the formation. Valorian cruisers flew alongside human carriers. Tashari crystalline ships coordinated with Kelthani destroyers. Species that had been enemies now stood united. Captain Haijin Quan commanded the New Haven's Promise, one of humanity's newest capital ships. She looked at the tactical display showing the assembled armada. Thousands of ships from dozens of species, all coordinating through systems humans had designed. The galaxy's old order of isolated empires was gone. In its place, a true alliance. All ships report ready. Captain, her executive officer said. Haijin thought of her grandfather, who died in the first bombardment of New Haven. She thought of all the names on the memorial world. She thought of the galaxy that had watched humans die and offered only sympathy. That galaxy was gone. The new galaxy had learned hard lessons. Transmit to all allied forces, Haijin ordered. We remember. We protect. We endure. This is humanity's promise. The message repeated across every allied frequency. Species that had once seen humans as weak newcomers now looked to them for leadership. The transformation was complete. Humanity had entered the stars hoping for peace and found only ancient laws that justified murder. They had responded by becoming strong enough that such laws could never be used against them again. Now they stood ready to defend not just themselves, but everyone who had joined their cause. On Remembrance, Fleet Admiral Una Park watched the fleet assemble. She touched the memorial wall, feeling her namesake's inscription. They thought you died for nothing, she whispered. They thought humanity would forget and move on. They were wrong. You died to teach us we must be strong. We learned that lesson. Now we teach it to others. The unknown fleet continued its approach. Humanity had faced extinction before. They had survived ice ages and plagues and countless near-ends. They had survived because they remembered threats and adapted. The galaxy was about to learn that lesson applied to external threats just as much as internal ones, Dr. Soman Kong made. One final entry in her historical record: the wound that was New Haven changed everything. It taught humanity we could never rely on others for protection. It taught our allies that humans remember both kindness and cruelty. It taught our enemies that some wounds never heal. They only sharpen determination. Now, as we face an unknown threat from beyond our galaxy, we do so not as the weak species that begged for justice 10 years ago. We face it as the species that creates justice when none exists. The elder species built their power over millions of years. Humanity built ours in a decade. Not because we wanted to, but because we had no choice. That difference matters. The fleet moved out, heading toward the unknown threat. Behind them, on countless worlds, families touched memorial stones and said names that would never be forgotten. Humanity had learned the hardest lesson the galaxy could teach. Strength without justice is tyranny. But justice without strength is meaningless. They had become strong. Now they would see if they could remain just while wielding that strength. Whatever came from beyond the rim would face not just humanity, but everyone humanity had sworn to protect. That was the real legacy of New Haven. Not revenge, but the transformation of humanity from supplicants to protectors. The galaxy would never again dismiss them as weak newcomers. They were the species that remembered every wound and honored every alliance.